Okay, welcome back to another lunar update. My name is Kay Moon, and I am a Western astrologer and twin flame channel. And this is a video about the Aquarius full moon taking place on August 9th at 3:53 a.m. If you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States, please check a time zone converter for your local time. Really excited about this Aquarius full moon. It's one of the only full moons that's unaspected by any major planetary inputs at this particular in this year in the cycle of 2025. But it does have a lot of major asteroid aspects, and I'm going to be talking about those to give you a better look at what this means and how it may play out for you. For those of you that don't know, I do read the asteroids, the TNOs, as well as the centaurs that came with the time passages software that I use. But you can always look them up if you want to get more familiar with them, or join me for Star School 201 if you'd like to learn more about them, as I teach all about them there. This is going to be a fun new moon. Aquarius represents one of the signs of something new. It is not necessarily a new beginning, but it's the unconventional. It's the never seen before. It's the quantum leap forward. It's something that we may not have experienced before. And so it's the uncanny, the non-traditional. And so for this full moon, I decided at the end I'm going to have a special guest collaborator who's going to add some tarot insights to the lunar update to take it deeper, add nuance, and share more metaphysical stuff with you guys, as I promised in a community post several months ago. I can't wait for you to hear who it is. It's someone many of you said you enjoy listening to, and frankly, she's a close friend of mine, and our private party hangouts are such a vibe. Maybe we'll invite you to one of those private parties down the road because they are nothing but laughter, lightness, and love. And who doesn't need more of that at this point? There is a new community launching very soon where the previous added insights that I would add to each lunar update from planets that are not aspecting the full moon or the new moon, such as Mercury retrograde and this amazing Jupiter Venus conjunction that's bringing in love and money opportunities, but especially love opportunities. And what Mars is now doing, that he's in Libra, all these sorts of things that are not speaking to the full moon at this time, I will be covering in a private community that's coming up for each lunation. So keep your eyes out for that. Make sure you're subscribed, hit that notification bell. Special pricing will be offered to my private listers. So if you're not on the list, what are you doing? Get on it. There has been special offerings for them in the last 2 weeks. We've done an annual anniversary sale for readings that are booked in the later part of August. Some of them have used that coupon code. It's not available on YouTube. Link to join the private list is below. And we are in the peak of eclipse season with 30 days away from the first eclipse. The lunar eclipse in Pisces opens up the eclipse season, and that's coming on September 7th, 9th. I got to double check that for you, but it is coming up soon. And then we have September 21st is the next eclipse after that. I believe that makes that September 7th. So please, 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 if you want to take a look at these eclipses, book now. If you see that the times in my calendar don't work over at kmoonastro.com, you can always book. Send me your questions by email, and I'll send a recording back to you with your answers within 24 hours. And now that I'm done teaching, have a little pause in the action from teaching. The last 2 weeks of August, the availability that I have is wide open. Please take advantage of it. I would love to connect with you. So let's get into it. Here is our full moon in Aquarius. Right there, it is conjunct a Pallas retrograde in Aquarius. as well as Chariclo, who's also retrograde in Aquarius. The Pallas retrograde conjunction can have us feeling like our guard is down with people and groups. And it's a very useful energy for transitioning into new groups, new ways of being with people, new boundaries with people, new committees, new friendships, new colleague circles, new unions, new action committees, etc. There is an energy here that has leaves us a bit undefended. Pallas is our energy of self-protection. And when Pallas is retrograde, some of that personal defense comes down. And that's really conducive to meeting new people and connecting to new people in different ways. It's also conducive to where we normally might use our ego to defend ourselves with people. This is an opportunity where, because the ego will be so thin and we will be so undefended, we'll get the opportunity to see where we're really appreciated for who we are and where we're not. And we won't be able to make up story about it to soothe or appease our ego at this time. Okay. Because this is a full moon and full moons represent closures, in the sign of Aquarius, we are talking about quantum closure. I've definitely spoken with a lot of people leading up to this eclipse in Pisces. It's a full moon lunar eclipse coming up pretty soon here, about a month away. This eclipse in Pisces has been making a lot of people very tired and very sleepy. The quantum closure energy of this Aquarius full moon 30 days before that eclipse, I'm noticing people are doing a lot of work on the astral, a lot of work in the supernatural fields to facilitate their next steps and also close out timelines with people they may have previously had arrangements to rendezvous or collaborate with in the third dimension. Those closures are coming to terms on the astral realm at this time. So you may be doing a lot of astral work. You may feel that. You may feel extra tired. It's temporary, but it's also necessary. So if your body is giving you that signal to rest a little more, definitely heed it. Because on the other side of this, you're going to feel rejuvenated and have a lot more of your energy and power back because you're not holding open timelines with people you no longer will be meeting with in the third dimension. As your life moves across the chessboard and you take up with new people who are suited for where you're headed in your next chapter. This undefended nature with the Pallas retrograde conjunct the new moon, this is also going to allow us to end a cycle of self-abandonment when we're with people. This is also going to open up stepping up to do new things in our lives when it comes to groups of people. And it could even be taking on new technology, since Aquarius governs new technology and new ventures as well. Especially if you've been the type of person who is tech avoidant, there's no escaping what's coming for all of us in the AI age, and understanding how to use it so you're not used by it will ultimately help you thrive in this next chapter of human history. And this will facilitate you not getting left behind. So if you've been that sort of person who's like, no, I don't even have a phone, and that's fine. I'm not saying everyone has to. I'm saying at this full moon, you may find yourself closing out that orientation to the third dimension through your recognition that it's necessary to be connected in that way going forward in your life for things to thrive. Okay. Now, if you just don't want to do it, listen, I'm not saying you have to. I'm just saying this full moon is conducive to stepping into a chapter or closing out a chapter where one may have been tech avoidant. Now, this conjunction to Chariclo retrograde, she is our energy of divine intercession. The pullback when she's retrograde of that divine intercession energy is a pullback of a little bit of advocacy on the other side from our guides and teams, etc., with the divine or our higher selves. And it really leaves us and our higher selves to our own devices. It's a little bit like, okay, let's see what you can do on your own when things are left up to the divinity in you. There's a lot of grace here because Aquarius is one of our signs of new things, the uncanny, the never been seen before, and unconventional. So, even in a closing related full moon, and a month before a closing related eclipse, which is going to be like a super closure, by the way, just so you know, because it is in Pisces, the last sign of the zodiac. Doing something new will benefit us at this time. It'll take us out of any interpersonal struggles that we're having. It'll also signal to our guides, our teams, our higher angels, Holy Spirit, the divine. You know what? The divine in me is ready to take that step forward, that quantum leap in my life. I am ready to close out cycles and patterns that aren't serving me and to step into a new timeline here. So, again, there is this energy of stepping into the merge between our higher self and higher level consciousness and current level consciousness, and some of it through action. Now, that action part is brought in by a sextile from Ceres in our sign that deals with action. Ceres is direct in the sign of Aries, and Aries represents our ambition, taking action, behaviors, forward movement. It represents that momentum. It's also the sign of the self and our individuality. What's interesting with a sextile to this full moon's energy is it just brings the harmony of Ceres and what Ceres has to offer in Aries straight into the full moon's energy for the collective. With just a little bit of effort, a little bit of action, we get a lot of bit of result. Ceres is the energy of cycles changing, seasons changing. You can see there on your screen that her symbol is the scythe, and that is a harvesting tool that is utilized to bring in a harvest at the close of a cycle of growth. And what we have with Ceres speaking to this full moon in Aquarius is the closure of a cycle of growth, the completion of that which we have grown through. Now we are coming into the next chapter after we close this full moon's energy in about another week and go into the new moon's energy. But with this Ceres from Aries sextiling this full moon, and Ceres also having been featured at the new moon in Leo 2 weeks ago as a key player, we have this frequency of recognizing where we are done being a particular way, operating in a particular pattern or program with people. Okay. So I will link that full moon in, or that new moon in Leo on the end screen to this lunar update so that you're able to rewatch that and catch the patterning that was available as we've come into this lionscape. Because that new moon in Leo and this full moon in Aquarius are really bringing forward a lot of the themes for this Lionsgate time period. And in case you missed it, I did do an update on the Lionsgate as well. You'll find that in the Lightworker update playlist here on the channel. Some themes that I'm seeing around what it means when we're talking about closure of a way of being with a group of people. An example in my own life, I'll open with one of those, is that in the first 8 months of this year, I have specifically been doing something called the Union Workshop with a collaborator who's been my spiritual mentor for those divine counterparts who feel really ready to step into faith when it comes to calling their union in and grounding it in the third dimension. We offered 3 different legs of that workshop: Union Workshop Part 1, Part 2, and 3PE. 3PE is now wrapped, and we have the final session of Union Workshop Part 2 this coming Wednesday. As a result, I've expanded in my understanding of who I am in partnership, but I am also closing out who I am to that group of people in collaboration with my business partner on that project. It was a group program. I was an individual standing in partnership, and now that is coming to a close. Another example is a content creator that has not been monetizing her content in ways that she could have historically. It's left that choice has left her exposed to others who have copied her work and made money off of it. She is now making distinctions for herself about what belongs behind a paywall so that she can benefit financially from her own efforts instead of other people making money from her hard work. Another friend who's also a content creator is launching a new course to be of service to people in a new way. She's never launched courses before. This is her first time, but she's stepping into something new and releasing an old identity that she can't do it, that she's not that kind of person, that she can only make money in certain ways. And as Aquarius demands, she's learning new technology to bring it all into fruition in the third dimension. And another example is just yesterday, I had several clients who are redefining themselves and their connections, taking on new ideas, redefining their person, new ideas about their person, using new behaviors and actions to create new outcomes with their person. They're doing a lot of out of the box, unexpected things in the 3D. And the reason why we're not talking about the 5D is because Aries is a sign that deals with the physical realm. If there was this full moon in a full moon in Pisces, which it will be next month, we would be talking about the 5D, the astral realm. Okay. But this series making this aspect to Aquarius is really about what's happening in the 3D and taking actions in the 3D that align with all the newness you've already cultivated in the 5D. At some point, the 3D has to reflect the 5D in your choices, behaviors, and actions, as above, so below. Okay. So, yeah, this is really an exciting period of time for all of us. There's a lot of newness here. Like I said, you may be feeling some fatigue as you step into that newness. Some of you may be doing a little bit of extra sleeping as a prelude to the full moon lunar eclipse coming up in September in Pisces. But many of you will also be seeing that the third dimension has placed a demand on behavioral change for you, and that new actions must be taken to reorient the people in your lives to the way you're showing up in your newness now. Okay. We also see this full moon is in a square to Juno, Vesta, and Lilith here in Scorpio. Now, these three have been kicking it together really since, I want to say, since Juno went direct on June 10th. We saw them in proximity then. We're seeing them continue to travel together now. We're all the way out in August, but they are placing on our psyche an imprint of being true to ourselves and honest about our personal power. Together, they can really facilitate in square to this new moon challenges when it comes to closure. Scorpio is our sign of closure, and that's where the three of them sit. This is also the sign that represents power. The three of them together, they know who they are and helps us know who we are and what we want to bring to the table. They also know, because this is the sign of closure, what they're just not going to do anymore. This is just what we're not doing. And some of this energy became very apparent to me personally when I stopped doing extended versions of our lunar updates earlier this year, a few months ago. Like it was just too much work. I was like, okay, yeah, from a content perspective, this is way more than is serviceable. People aren't even watching all of this. The people who really want it, who want to go deeper, I can actually serve them better by giving them activities to do, by giving them journal prompts, by working with them in a more exclusive container. And so know that that's coming, but it's this energy, Juno, Vesta, Lilith, in my own chart going, yeah, Kate, this is what we're not going to do anymore. This isn't even working. Um, it's not helping your views. It's not helping your monetization. It's not helping your business. How about we close this in this format? And as the Scorpio energy does, resurrect it in a new format. And that's really beautiful here because what we get is Lilith wanting to have things her way, especially in Scorpio, or she's not willing to play at all. So, in my example there, it has to be a win for me for it to be also a win for you. It can't just be a win for the few people who watch it, it's got to be win-win. Vesta is going to be dedicated and double down on this path. Vesta is our energy of dedication, service, and focus. And then we get Juno focused on her alchemy in partnership. She is our partnership asteroid. What's ended and over with, and what's ready to resurrect and go with us into our next chapter of partnership and collaboration. This trio has been refining this for all of us in the last 90 days. So I love to see it. I think it's a really potent combination that is slow moving, thank God, because too much change too quick. A lot of us would be in straitjackets. But what I'm seeing here is this slow moving but definitive closure of a way of partnering and being in service so that we can do it in a way that's actually going to be win-win in our next chapter. And this full moon can present a little bit of tension around it. You know, the emotions, the moon, and needs, the moon a lot squaring our partnership values and where we're headed next. The intention with the two of these things being intention. Let me clarify that. Thank you. This can have this full moon weekend that we're walking into feel a little, I don't want to say contentious, but reflective is a really great word. We may have some aha moments and insights about adjustments and changes we need to make that have been a long time coming. They've been brewing for some time. Okay. And again, this could be very liberating coming into this eclipse, which is giving us this energy is giving us a chance to close out redundant loops and cycles with people. I know you all have heard the old idiom, or is it adage, that doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting a different result is the definition of insanity. I'll take it even further since we're dealing here with Scorpio, the sign that can deal a lot with poisons and shadow and toxicity. Doing the same thing redundantly, not only knowing that it doesn't work, but knowing that it's harmful to you, that's toxic. And so, what we get is this recognition of where we're just no longer ready to be in toxic energies in the way that we partner with people. That's Juno, are in service to the collective. That's Vesta. In groups, that's Aquarius, where the full moon sits. Or with ourselves, that's Ceres there in Aries. We're ready to make some changes and really step up to the plate for ourselves in some new ways. So go us. I like to see it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this is a cakewalk. I get it. I'm talking to you guys privately in our one-on-one sessions. This is a very challenging period of time. And some of us would rather turn our backs to the world or put our head in the sand or just go to sleep until it's over with because change is just, it just feels too hard and too heavy. So, with that in mind, I want to invite you, if you are ready to take a look at some of this alongside the people you're connected to or the changes you're ready to make in your work or career, definitely book some time with me at kmoonastro.com. The link is below. There are 30-minute readings available for a quick peek and 1 hour readings available if you'd like to take a deep dive. Okay, now what I want to say here that's really important for us to clock is that eclipse that's coming on September 7th, when I've researched eclipses, the pre-eclipse activation points can see major changes occur 30, 60, and 90 days to the day before the eclipse arrives. And we are already in the 30-day period now with this particular full moon. So I want to encourage you to look back to July 7th and what happened during that period of time to get a sense of what this eclipse is going to be about for you. I'm also going to link the eclipse preview that I did for the Pisces Virgo cycle on the end screen for this lunar update so that you can check back in with what's happened so far during this eclipse cycle and what's coming with the two eclipses in September. Okay. And yeah, if you'd like to get some personalized guidance, you know where to find me. And off to our special guest collaborator who's going to bring some additional tarot insights to the table and share with you what there is to know from a deeply intuitive perspective with this full moon. We've worked together on some prompts and things to ask based on the themes of this full moon, so I know she's going to be perfectly tuned in. Let's have it.
Hi, friends of K Moon. Congratulations on having excellent taste in astrologers. I would like to also give a huge shout out and thank you to Miss Moon herself for letting me come on and do a quick little reading for you guys for the full moon in Aquarius. I am going to be doing that momentarily, but before I do, please give this video a like to support our girl and also just let her know how much you appreciate her because she is fantastic and I don't think she could ever have enough praise. So shout out to Kay. Thank you for letting me come on and read for everyone. So let's get into this. What I'm going to start by doing is using this deck, and we are going to ask, what risks are you now safe and being guided to take in your connections, even if these risks were something that you would never do in the past? So we're seeing how the change and the shift in this time will allow you to act differently. So what risks are we being guided to take in our connections moving forward, even if these risks are things that maybe we couldn't even consider in the past? Beautiful. We have keep your heart open. So I feel like this is a huge, and on the back of the deck, I guess we should also mention leave the past behind. I feel like those kind of go hand in hand, especially because it can be really hard to open our hearts and keep them open when we think about what's occurred in the past. I think that this is actually just such a perfect card considering this full moon in Aquarius is all about closure. I really feel like this is the time for you to give yourself permission to not feel like you have to be so protective of your heart space. Allow the universe to surprise you and allow your heart to show you how, when you keep it open, no matter what may occur, there's so much more value than shutting life out. I definitely think as well, you're being called in your connections to feel into the energy of things rather than just look at what things are in terms of what you can see with your own two eyes, if that makes sense. I feel like you're being encouraged to assume the best intent and to give yourself permission to see the good in yourself in others and the good in humanity in general, I feel like this is a beautiful opportunity for you to kind of take a step back and assess your belief systems about others, about humanity in general, and how they lead to you closing yourself off from other people. I definitely think that in general, you're being guided to be more open in connection, period. So, not only in present connections that already exist in your life, but I also feel like if you're trying to meet new people or want to have a more active social life, you're really being encouraged to reach out to others, create opportunities, stop waiting for people to come to you, and instead open your heart to others and watch magic happen. I feel like this is a time where people are going to be especially receptive to you because of your beautiful open heart and because of the genuine intentions that you have. And I feel like in general, when you are overthinking an action that you should take towards another person, remind yourself, number one, of your intentions. You know, if you have pure intentions with this person, then even if it doesn't land the way you hoped, I would imagine that it would not be too big of a deal. Um, More than anything, though, I think you'll be surprised that when you open and share more of yourself, you find that you're actually really well received and it brings people closer to you rather than further away. People are not judging you as harshly as you're judging yourself. And I think this is a beautiful opportunity for you to let go of self-criticism whilst also letting others in more deeply and allowing yourself to just feel safe in authenticity rather than clam up and feel like you have to be a curated version of yourself. What you're going to find is that in environments where you can't be your authentic self, you're not going to feel great. And so your heart is going to communicate already, maybe we should restructure or readdress who we spend our time with, because why would you waste time with people that won't allow you to be your authentic self or who wouldn't honor you being your authentic self? Unless obviously they're obligatory connections, which in that case, do what you can. But I think in general, this is more focused on finding the right connections for you and paying attention to how your feelings correlate with the most aligned connections for you. I think what you're going to find is that when you're around aligned connections, you feel free to be yourself and it gets easier and easier to be yourself. And on top of that, you feel uplifted, you feel good, you feel peaceful. I would pay attention to any interactions or connections where you feel like you have to hide, where they are draining, where you feel diminished or feel insecure about yourself after interacting. Those would kind of be connections that I would encourage you to reassess how much time and energy you spend on them. So with that being said, let's go a bit deeper. The first thing I want to ask is how you can release any patterns of self-betrayal that you might still be experiencing. So how can we release any patterns of self-betrayal that might be holding us back from our own authenticity, please? Beautiful. That Aquarius energy coming out straight out the gate. So I feel like, number one, the first thing that you can do to release patterns of self-betrayal is recognize that when you do engage in those patterns, you're no less valuable and you're no less worthy. I would pay attention to how you feel after you engage in self-betrayal patterns, because it will be quite obvious to you how uncomfortable that experience is. And I think feeling into that experience will be one of the most helpful things to get you to release those patterns. I also feel, though, with the star being here, you're being encouraged to, number one, visualize the type of patterns you want to replace self-betrayal patterns with. And also, I feel an encouragement for you to get inspired and excited by what these changes might look like, or what replacements you could bring into your life to change these patterns of self-betrayal. So like, for example, if you have a Pinterest account, maybe you have a pattern of self-betrayal around self-care. So you go down a Pinterest rabbit hole and look at a bunch of different self-care rituals that seem really exciting to you and get you inspired to do your own. I also think as well, having a general sense of optimism and faith in yourself, um, to trust that you're releasing these patterns naturally, and with concentrated effort, you'll release them even more quickly. And also knowing that the process of healing isn't linear. So even when you do slip up or you do engage in a pattern that maybe doesn't align with the person you've become, it just gives you more information to remember why this pattern doesn't work for you. And it also should just give you the clarity that you need to recognize that you're not the same person that compulsively acted in that pattern of self-betrayal or unconsciously acted in that pattern of self-betrayal. And that in of itself is evidence of healing. But on top of that, I feel like the more you can really just start to tune into your inner light and your higher self, which I can tell all of you already do to a degree, I think that there's a need for you to have more faith in that connection with yourself, because you're already doing so much healing and releasing as it is. I feel like you really don't have to be too focused on the process unless you need concrete, tangible solutions for certain patterns of betrayal. I feel like in general, though, there are a lot of patterns of self-betrayal that I think are dissolving naturally as you just step into this new version of yourself. And I feel like, if anything, this is a beautiful sign that even if you feel like the things you need to release are much greater than you or will take forever, I feel like this is a sign from the universe saying that actually these patterns can be released a lot more gently and a lot easier than you realize. I think one of the biggest things that could help you release them is any judgment or criticism you have for yourself around how quickly you shift and evolve, because you're not seeing from an outside perspective how quickly you are actually growing and how often you actually do release a lot of things, heal a lot of things without being consciously aware of it. So I feel like, if anything, this is a beautiful sign that you're already doing the work you need to. And for a lot of you, I feel like there really isn't much work to be done, just to flow with where you're already being guided, and let the light show you what needs healing if you need to be consciously aware of it. And I have no doubt that you will know what you need in order to release those blockages. And if you don't, you will be guided. You're not alone in this process. And I feel like you have an entire cosmic and ethereal support team that is here to help you remember, number one, that you are so much more than your body or your mind or your past or your story. You're a being of light and you are infinite. And I really think that you're going to be reminded of that a lot in the upcoming future. And I think that just those magical experiences will be really affirming in terms of who you're becoming, and also just help you recognize any attachments you may have to patterns of self-betrayal. You will just naturally be able to let go of them because you don't even feel the same draw to them. And I think also, when it comes to what you replace these patterns of self-betrayal with, those are going to feel so good. Continuing to make those choices is going to come quite naturally and easily. So we're going to pull one last card. And for this card, I want to ask, how can you be more authentic in your connections with others moving forward? So what part of yourself should you show, or so on and so forth. So how can we be more authentic in our connections moving forward, please? Okay. We have the Hermit in reverse. And I actually really love this because, number one, I feel like it's also, given that the Hermit is ruled by Virgo, the sign of Virgo, I definitely feel like if you are someone who is more of an observer or very analytical or very self-critical, I feel like you're really being encouraged to challenge yourself to not make judgments about yourself and to try your best to be present in the moment. But also, I feel like you're being encouraged to share more of your inner world, the weird thoughts that you may have, the silly fears that you know are silly, but you can't help but feel them anyway. I'll give you an example of a silly fear. Maybe it'll help. I have this weird fear, and I've had it since I was a child, that I was going to join the military, because the military just seems like I don't want to do that. And I would have this fear of like, well, what if I just decide to join one day? And then I would tell myself, well, dude, like if you choose it, at that point it would be your choice. So like you wouldn't be afraid of it because you'd be choosing to do that. And I'm like, no, but like I'm afraid of what if I choose to do that? Like I'm afraid of what type of person I would become to even want to choose to do that in the first place. And I'm afraid for my future self and all the discomfort she will experience. And no amount of logic could does stop me from that fear. I'm less afraid of it now because I'm aging out. Yeehaw. But I mean, still, like, it's not an irrational fear, but it is one that would keep me up at night, where I would just be like, man, I am really afraid of choosing to join the military one day. And you never know. You might find that other people have the same fears or have other fears that make you feel better about your own ridiculous fears. I feel like more than anything, you're just being encouraged to stop hiding and to stop assuming that other people will think you're annoying, other people will think you're dumb or lame, whatever the case may be. I feel like you underestimate how interesting your inner world actually is. And it's when you share that part of yourself that other people get the opportunity to know who you actually are. I feel like there are a lot of people who you would really vibe with that maybe you've never had the opportunity to really get to know because both of you have been too shy to share yourselves. I really do think part of what you're being encouraged to do here is take the first step and take the initiative when it comes to opening up to others, and watch yourself be surprised at how others open up to you. But I also think with the Hermit being in reverse here, you might be spending too much time alone. And it might be that you just need to get out of the house a little bit and interact with others. I think if you have an identity around being alone all the time, or thinking that your authentic self is one that likes being alone, you might need to take a step back and ask yourself, is that really true, or is that a belief that came from a wounded place that other people weren't safe? I definitely think in the process of all of this healing, you have the opportunity to open up to others again in a way where you're not guarded. I mean, of course, you can still be protective of yourself, but allow yourself to be open and let people surprise you, and let yourself share in ways that are unapologetic. One way I would say that it would even be great to do this is to go places and where you don't know anyone, where maybe everybody's on the same playing field, where maybe it's a group of strangers or something like that. You might feel freer to be yourself because if people don't vibe with you, then what's the big deal? You'll probably never see them again, right? Ultimately, though, I think you're just being encouraged to show up in other people's lives more. Give yourself opportunities to have more connection. Challenge yourself to go outside of your comfort zone, and give people a chance to see your authentic self. Because I think what you're going to be really surprised about is that people more often than not are really going to love who your authentic self is. It is, right? Not are. I think it is. I don't know. And I think that will create opportunities for connection where you feel more comfortable and relaxed around other people, and you realize too that your presence is really valued and can actually be a powerful catalyst for helping others as well feel more safe to be themselves too. So that's where I'm going to leave this little mini reading. Thank you so much, Kay, for letting me come and visit. And thank you so much to everyone here who let me read for you. I really hope that this reading was helpful. If you would like to come say hi over on my channel, it is at ASTRO. I hope all of you have a lovely full moon in Aquarius. And yeah, lots of love. Bye!